thank you for joining us on Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. It's the fourth Wednesday of the month, which means it's time for Bird Notes. Joining us, as he has for over 20 years, is bird expert and conservation biologist for Audubon, Vermont, Mark LaBarr. Thanks for coming in.
Always great to be here.
We're happy to have you. And as our loyal viewers know, at the end of our program every month, we give the address of Audubon and we give your email address, and they are welcome to send in any questions or bird-related notes that you can provide some answers for. Yep. And we've actually got some of those to start the program today. So let's answer some questions. You've recently received a letter from Marty. What does he have to say?
Yeah, so it's great when folks send in their questions, and I try to get back to them, and every once in a while we get a chance to air them on the show. And this first question is from Marty, who lives in Bangor, New York, all the way over there near Malone. And he had this picture of this bird, this all-white bird, and he writes, "My wife and I always enjoy your monthly bird report on Across the Fence." Thanks, Marty. "We saw this bird in our yard on March 25th. It's the same size as a robin. There was a robin near it at the time, and it seems to stand in the same way as a robin. Is this a robin?" It is indeed a robin. This is a robin that is leucistic, meaning that the pigments in its feathers are white. Now, we've had this happen, and I've shown these before, but this one's kind of rare because that bird is pretty much all white. And many times the leucisticism can show up as a couple of white feathers, or maybe a red-tailed hawk with a red tail. So this is indeed a robin, and that's a pretty spectacular image to have one of these things bouncing around your yard. So yeah, you see them every once in a while, and this was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful too, not for nothing.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
And I actually, I have a viewer letter from Catherine McClure of Bennington, and she writes, "I live in Bennington, surrounded by Christmas tree farms. Would it be possible that I saw a merlin today?" So
yes, merlins. Now they are a small falcon. They are pretty much, nondescript, pretty much all brown like this one, very pointed wings, and they have been seen in Bennington pretty regularly over the years. And they will often nest in large pine trees and things of that nature. So seeing one around a Christmas tree farm wouldn't be that unusual. The other falcon this time of year, and in the summer you will see, that's recently come back is the American kestrel. Now this is actually the smallest falcon, and you can see the plumage characteristics are quite different from the merlin, but this is a bird that's often seen. Merlins are pretty rare, but kestrels, if you keep an eye out, especially on power lines and things like that as you're driving along, they'll often perch on that because they feed out in fields and stuff like that on insects and small rodents. So you can actually see them hovering out over the field too. So some of the falcons that are back, and I'm sure the peregrines are back too. They're a little bit bigger, but.
Absolutely, and you said this one's on the smaller side. It's kind of hard to tell from this photo, so how big are we talking?
We're talking, maybe a little bigger than a robin. So they're not big birds, but as you can see, the kestrel's a little bit more colorfully adorned, and so they're often fun and easier to see.
Absolutely, that's great. We actually have one more viewer submitted email. This one comes in from Jim. He says, "Hi Mark, we always enjoy your appearances on Bird Notes on WCAX. We had 2 bluebirds just show up at our feeding station. That seems odd to us as we never see them until later. Are you aware of bluebirds returning to Vermont in the winter?"
Yeah, so this letter and another one I have here from Mary Stallworth, which is basically asking the same question. They came in January. And yes, bluebirds will stick around during the winter months. Especially if there's a food source. They will eat fruit, so crabapple trees, we've got a couple of them at the Audubon that we'll occasionally see them. So it's not that unusual in this day and age as things warm up and birds come back. Bluebirds are a fun bird. Many people like to have them in their yards.
Absolutely, and 'tis the season where they start to kind of look and to nest and raise their young. Is that right?
That is correct. And one of the things that, and I brought in a little show and tell here today.
Oh, great.
Our classic bluebird box. Now this box will be used by other birds as well, but it has some design things here which make it, make the bluebirds happy. 1.5 inch hole, very important. It also, this box, you can open it so you can clean it. This is a good time to get out and clean your boxes. Get that old nest material out of there. You don't want to have parasites in there. Plus, if they start building on top of their nest material, it makes it easier for predators to get in there. And that's what this little square is here. This is a predator guard. And it makes it very difficult for something like a raccoon to stick its arm in there and bend it. And that keeps the chicks safe. The other thing about a box like this that you want to make sure you do is on the inside of the front, you want to scuff it up or put some hardware cloth there. And that basically enables the young birds to climb up to the hole and makes it easier for them to, when it's time to fledge, to actually leave the box. So this is a box that you can put out, and you might get bluebirds, you might get tree swallows. Oftentimes, I have one in my yard. We put them out in the fields. Bluebirds like to have that open space. If you put one of these close to the edge of your woods or in your woods, you might get chickadees or other species that'll use this. So these are kind of a standard box, but many people, when they put them out, are hoping to see bluebirds.
Sure. Does this open enough we can see what the scuffing looks like?
I don't know whether whether they're going to get it all the way
Just
open.
trust us, it's there.
Yeah. And these boxes should be placed about 5 foot high. The birds will use them, and that also facilitates cleaning.
Absolutely. How often should you clean them? Once a year?
Yeah, pretty much. When you do go out to clean this time of year, give a quick knock. You never know who might be in there.
Don't want to surprise both of you.
Yeah, some people will clean them in the spring. In the fall. But then, you can have other things, flying squirrels, rodents that will use the box. So you want to make sure the box is clean, again, in the spring. And the one thing about this box, which I can't show, but there's a nail here on the side. And that enables this box to stay closed when after you clean it, so it doesn't accidentally open up.
Yeah, that's a good safety measure. And you've got another example of a
box. And this is what we call the slit top box. So this is designed a little bit differently. Instead of having the hole, it has this gap here at the top. We've had a lot of success with these boxes at the Audubon. I have one in my yard, and the bluebirds used it last year. Again, you've got the box opens up on the front so that you can clean it, easy access. And this one has the little locking mechanism right on the front. This box also was built so you can open up the lid. Now, everybody wants to know if the bluebirds or the tree swallows are in there. And so this lid gives you a chance to peek in, but you don't want to do it that much because you don't want to disturb the birds. And a lot of times with bluebirds, they'll be active around the box. You'll see the male and female, and then everything will go quiet. And the birds are actually still using the box, and the female is incubating. So those are the times you want to be real careful not to disturb them. And but this is a great box, and at the Audubon we've had a number of bluebirds come back now, and we have my box right there in the backyard, and we have another box in the field, our sugar house field. And right now that bluebird, the male, I hear him singing, and he's going back and forth between those boxes, and I'm curious to see where he'll end up.
Yeah, so is he trying to pick between the two, do you think?
Yeah, I think he's just given, the female an option, do you like this one, or how about this one? We tried this one last year. That's assuming it was the same bird that came back.
Sure. Absolutely. And you said a little hack that you've been using with these, sometimes the wind will...
Yeah, so this one, because the lid, you can have some kind of latch on the side. This is a pretty heavy top, but you can still, the wind can get under it.
Especially this year, it's been so windy.
It has. So I will actually I have a rock on mine out there to do that. But you can put a little eye hook or something like that here to keep that lid closed.
Either way, some sort of low-cost option.
Yeah. So, and there are lots of different boxes that are out there. There's boxes for flickers, which are a little bit bigger, whole size, boxes for owls. Need to be put up a little bit higher. These are all cavity nesting species, including our American kestrel, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And they will take advantage of a much bigger box than this with a bigger hole. So putting these nest boxes up and around can, facilitate birds nesting and nesting safely.
Absolutely, and you talked about how we should keep for bluebird boxes. You said they were better in open fields there. Is there a certain direction they should face as well?
Yeah, so it's funny because they do say have it face to the east. My bluebird box faces to the south, and they seem to use it just fine. But that tends to be east if you can do it, and I'm sit on my porch and facing south, I can see the bluebirds. If I turned it east, I wouldn't see the bluebirds. So they still use it, and they got a full set of fledglings off last year.
Absolutely, that's great.
Yeah.
And we're talking a lot about bluebird boxes. You said there are other boxes that work for other birds, but why focus specifically on ones for bluebirds?
Bluebirds have always been, they're just kind of one of the darlings of the bird world. And just like putting up a feeder and being able to see all the feeder species come in close, a bluebird box is another box, another way that people can help bird species, but also see them. And I used to live up in the islands. I didn't get bluebirds, but we got a lot of tree swallows, and they were just as fun too. They will sometimes compete with bluebirds for the boxes. But they'll take advantage of them, and you can just, it's just enjoyable to see them, set up shop and raise their young.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we're out of time here, we're down in the last couple minutes, but I want to talk, you might see a couple more grouses and a little braver grouses this time of year. Can you tell me what's going on there?
Yeah, so what's happening now is, and I heard, I guess it was last week, my first grouse drumming. The males will stand on a log and they sound like a lawnmower, tup, 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 tup. It's a wing motion that they use. But sometimes these territorial grouses, often the males will get very amorous with humans. I had a caller come in a couple of years ago, or call in and say that she had this red car, and she took care of an elderly woman, and every time she pulled up in that red car, that grouse would come running out of the woods and walk with her up to the steps. And people experience this. There was a photographer recently here in Vermont who brought his gear in to take pictures of the grouse, and it turns out the grouse hopped right on his camera bag.
Sure. So if you see a lot of grouse this time of year, you know why.
Yeah. So they can, oftentimes they'll flush, and you see them going away more often than not. But sometimes they'll come right up and spend a little time with you.
A great sight to see. Thank you so much for coming in, Mark.
You're very welcome.
And if you have a bird-related question, you can pass it along to Mark at the address on your screen, or you can drop Mark an email. His address is mlabarr@audubon.org. Send Mark your questions and pictures, and he'll try and find answers for you on an upcoming edition of Bird Notes. That takes care of our Bird Notes for this month. Before we fly, my thanks to the hardest working crew behind the scenes who always keep us in tune. I'm Jolie Whitney. This is Across the Fence. Have a good one.